So what are the real pros and cons of living in Colorado Springs? And I'm talking about the real ones, that most people aren't going to tell you about. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what it's like to live right here on the Front Range with Pikes Peak as our backdrop. You can see the incline, you can hike Monument Rock, and so much more. I'm Karie McLain with Karie McLain Homes at eXp Realty, and I moved to Colorado 18 years ago, straight out of college. I didn't know a thing about Colorado Springs, but what I can tell you is I freaking love it here. I am so grateful to work with a lot of people that are relocating to our area, and at this time they are coming from all over the place because most people have the ability to telecommute. This is my home. This is where I chose to lay roots with my family, and I know the ins and outs about our city. One of the things that I love the most about our city is the mountains. And I mean, I really love them. Like, I moved here from Kansas where it's flat as can be. And one thing that I love about Colorado Springs is how close the mountains are. I mean, you can see them from every Walmart trip, any restaurant trip, or most every window on some area of your home. If you're looking at Denver, and I love Denver too, the mountains are actually much further away from town. So I will never take for granted our stunning landscapes right here in town. Pikes Peak is always large and in charge, and it's really awesome. So while hiking, biking, walking, all the things is plentiful right here on the Front Range, it is important to note that if you're moving here for skiing specifically, Colorado Springs is at least about a 2.5 hour drive to any of the closest ski resorts. Monarch is located southwest of the Springs and is about 2.5 hours away. Breckenridge is about 2.5 hours away. And Loveland is probably the closest ski resort, which is about an hour and 45 minutes away, but that is if you're not contending with the serious I-70 traffic. If you're looking to ski out of your home right here from the Springs, you've got the wrong impression. You have to drive to ski. We just don't get enough snow here to support skiing in town. Now, the Broadmoor used to have a ski resort many years ago, and from what I've heard from the natives here in the area, it was really nothing but a giant ice hill. So we don't have those anymore, and you can plan on trucking up I-70 or down to Monarch Mountain to ski. Colorado Springs has some amazing tourist attractions. We just got the most awesome Olympic Museum, and it's incredible. My kids and I really enjoyed it. We have the incline, we have the Pikes Peak Cog Railway, we have cliff dwellings, we have Garden of the Gods, and we have so much more. That's a real pro for when you have family visiting, or even if you're just bored and want to have a family adventure for the weekend. But with all of that tourism, there can come traffic at certain times of the year. And this is especially important down in Old Colorado City and Cimarron, which is one of the main east and west throughways of our city. The easiest way to access the mountain towns happens to be Cimarron, which turns into Highway 24 and is a back route to most of our major popular mountain towns. If you are trying to head north to the mountains, then you would take I-25 through Denver to I-70, and I-70 is a real beast. So what you can remember is that the secrets about the mountains are out, and traffic here can get kind of fierce. Something that I hear from my clients often as a con of our city is that the city is filled with neighborhoods, and that's true. Our neighborhoods are getting closer and closer together. The houses are closer together, the yards are smaller, and if you're familiar with tract communities, that is kind of what we're moving towards. And as our city grows, so do those neighborhoods. So as someone from the Midwest, I'm used to a big brick house on an acre or more, and you didn't have to contend with your neighbors as much. But I've been here in Colorado for 18 years and I've never owned something like that myself. If you are looking for humidity and glowing skin, this is not the place for you. It is dry here. I mean, really dry. It's dry in the summer, it's dry in the winter. Chapstick, Aquaphor, and Vaseline are your friends. I recommend a humidifier to many of my clients because your skin will be dry, your scalp will be dry, and in the winter, my kids get nosebleeds. It's just really dry here. In the summer, we don't get as much rain, and again, from the Midwest, I'm used to some major rainstorms. We don't get them here. So if you have sod in your yard, grass, you can count on watering. And keep this in mind because it's an additional expense. You have a water bill in most cases unless you're on a well. If you have grass, you gotta water it or it will dry up and die here. It's just a fact of living in Colorado. And if you choose to xeriscape your yard, which is a combination of rocks and low water, bushes and shrubs, you will have to pull those weeds. A lot of people think xeriscape means zero work, and that's just not accurate. Sometimes it's more work because you've got to contend with the weeds. So that's a little unknown tip about xeriscape in Colorado. So because of the dry climate, we have seen some fires here in Colorado Springs. There was actually just a big one in Denver, and it's crazy that those things can happen so close to home. I was in Colorado Springs for both the Waldo Canyon fire and the Black Forest fire, and it was awful, and I pray for everyone that was affected still to this day. Another thing to note about Colorado Springs is it is really windy here. The old tale goes that as long as there is snow on Pikes Peak, it is windy. So typically Pikes Peak starts to get some snow on it like late October, and that continues sometimes through May. And during those months, we get some big winds, and I'm talking hurricane style winds. But the weather is absolutely amazing here. We do get all 4 seasons, and if it does snow, it's usually gone the next day. Summers can get warm, but evenings are always nice and cool. And I have another video on my channel about what you can expect from the weather here in Colorado Springs. Another awesome thing about Colorado Springs is our downtown area, which has gone through some major revitalization in the past years. There is shopping and dining. There's lots of different festivals and gatherings. There's a big Olympic kickoff. There's sometimes motorbikes down there doing high jumps. You can ice skate in the winter. It is just a place that I really recommend either visiting or spending some time in because there are some amazing boutiques, great restaurants, and it's just a whole vibe, and I really like the vibe. A con of Colorado Springs, we really don't have a great mall here. Unfortunately, we have 2 of them that need some serious updating. But we do have an outdoor shopping center called the Shops at Briargate. It has some good shopping and amenities, and you're only about 45 minutes away from shopping on the south side of Denver. But general everyday conveniences right here in Colorado Springs, you won't have to leave the city for. We have Costco's, we have Target's, we have Walmart's, Home Depot's, Lowe's, and all the things. So there's plenty of shopping here. Just if you're really looking for that great mall experience that you could spend a day at shopping, you're probably gonna have to drive to get there. Get this, Colorado is rocky. We live in the Rocky Mountains, and they put sand on our roads frequently in the winter for traction in the snow. So with that comes rock chips. Rock chips on your windshield are common here in Colorado. They come fast, furious, and sometimes frequently. I actually got 2 back-to-back last year. So that additional little policy on your insurance for glass protection might be worth it here. Finally, some other things that I love about our city is that the north end of our city is growing rapidly. We just got a Topgolf, which is huge news. We've needed one of those for a while. We're also getting an indoor skydiving place, and that is set to open here in just a few weeks. We have a Shields, which is an amazing sports store, and it actually has a Ferris wheel to ride in it. We have a Bass Pro, and that whole area is developing with so many things to do, eat, and see. We also just got an In-N-Out there, and that was a pretty big deal for Colorado Springs also. I'm learning to golf, and my family's amazing golfers, and we have so many fun golfing options in our city. I plan to share that in another video, but if you're a golfer, this is a great place to visit. Colorado Springs has multiple golf courses, and you can drive to some other awesome ones, you know, in the Denver area as well. So stay tuned for that in a future video. Lastly, and I say this with some passion, I absolutely love the people here in Colorado Springs. They are so nice and so helpful, and it's easy to make friends because the people have come from all different parts of the United States. There's a lot of transplants here, and the natives are actually pretty friendly too. It's a great place to develop family friendships, and I think some of that just comes with the active lifestyle that we have here in Colorado Springs. There's lots of sports for your kids to get involved in, lots of clubs. There's just so many ways to meet people, and I think that you will find that the people here are incredibly kind. Until next time, reach down there and hit that subscribe button so you can learn all the things about Colorado Springs, Monument, and surrounding areas.